Now presenting my towers tier list for Kingdom Rush V Alliance. We got a lot of these puppies to sort through. There's 15 of them so far. I have no idea what's coming up for DLC, and this is all subjective. So I present to you my tier list. Guess what? I already goofed up. I originally did this video, and now I'm editing it again just for this tower. I put them in C tier originally, and now I'm playing with them a lot more, and I realized that dying on death and doing 200 true damage to enemies nearby is awesome. And then they send a guy throughout the entire level with good stats and a great death. So yes, I re-recorded over this. They're not in C tier. I'm putting them in B. Next on the list, Tri-Cannons. These guys are kind of like a Big Bertha mixed with Dwarp a little bit. I'll show you. So it actually has a really cool ability right here. I would say that this tower has potential, but when you're first playing it, you get introduced to a lot of different options that are just kind of better, and there's a lot of flying enemies. So we're going to go ahead and place it in C tier. Next, Grim Wraiths. Now these guys have an awesome ability to be able to relocate, but in general, they're just too expensive. I prefer a cheap barracks that can get the job done for low gold. These guys do a lot of damage, and their abilities are certainly interesting, but overall, I don't want a ton of damage. I want enemies to be blocked so I can shoot down on the birds. So I'm going to put them in B tier, though they do have high potential. Next, we have Royal Archers. I had my hopes up for these guys, but just look at the way that they shoot. They have a multi-shot that ignores a good amount of armor. They have an eagle that goes out, but it's just B tier because it shoots too slow. Next, I have Rocket Gunners. These guys have an interesting insta-kill and an armor-breaking ability, but ultimately, they do fall short a little bit because they're very expensive, and you usually just want either a better archer or magician to do their job. And though they can be on the ground or flying, they're redundant, so I end up putting them in B tier, too expensive. Battle Brew Masters. I really like these guys. They do a lot of damage. They get a blocker, which is an automatic huge plus. It really does make a difference. I really like them. It's just that this game is favoring a lot of towers, like magicians again, that can hit all the flying enemies. So though this is a powerful artillery tower, it's just going to be in B tier. We'll see though, over time. We'll see. Next, we have the Dwarven Flame Spitter. Man, this thing is pretty and satisfying to use. Again, it's pretty much just like the other tower, but probably does overall more damage and hits more AoE. The problem is, there's an overwhelming amount of a certain type of enemy that it cannot target directly, so I'm going to put them in B tier. If it could shoot these flying enemies directly, that'd be another story. Next, Arborean Emissary. This tower can stun enemies, doing true damage with vines, and then heal your guys with some fairies. This thing's a mage, so it automatically gets put up to B tier. Moving on. Next, we have Dune Sentinels. I really like these guys. They just overall seem to not do enough damage, but they hit flying enemies, and they do AoE physical damage. They have a money shot ability, where everyone killed by their money shot that does good damage gives you extra gold. Pretty cool. I put them roughly in high B tier. We'll see though. We'll see. Next, probably my favorite tower, Ballista Outpost. Stunning enemies, doing significant damage on the 5th attack. Yeah, these guys are in A tier, and they're kind of makeshift artillery. What else do you want? Next, we have Elven Stargazer. This thing shoots 5 rapid shots of magic, and guess what? That hits flying enemies, so it's epic. When enemies explode, they explode into stars that heat seek to the next closest enemy, and they teleport enemies back down the path. Definitely up there in A tier. Paladin Covenant. They never die, they do not bad damage, they're rallyable, and they're cheap. What more do you want? They're an awesome barracks, best in the game. A tier, baby. You can rely on them more than anything. Guess what, guys? This tower isn't C tier anymore. AoE buff and insta-kill that also can hit bosses for massive damage? At least A tier, probably gonna go up. It's an amazing tower. Oh boy, Blazing Gem is back, and now it can hit multiple enemies. Eldritch Channeler. This thing is insane. You can turn people into black sheep. It's coming up right here. Oh yeah, delicious. There's a lot of menacing foes, so that does pay off. You can target multiple enemies with a Blazing Gem-like power. This thing is an insane offensive destruction tool of nukes and everything. S tier, easy. Now for the real best tower in the game. Oh yes, Necromancer is finally an S tier. You weaken enemies with a totem, it buffs skeletons. You shoot out a Death Rider that runs through a whole lane, doing true damage? What the heck? Best ability freaking ever. Yeah, watch this thing. And when you upgrade it again, it shoots it out immediately. Huge quality of life thing. From passively powering up when there's no enemies around by building up skulls, from being cheap to hitting flying enemies to having amazing abilities, this thing is in S tier. I think it's the best tower in the game. Alright, so what did you guys think? I ranked all 15 towers just for you. Here's my tier list, subject to change. Thanks for joining along, guys. Which one of these do you think is better?